I wanted to do with you this morning. The first of which is just to invite some conversation. And I don't know where this goes. I don't know where any of these parts go exactly. But I wanted to start just by inviting a little bit of conversation about the series concluded last Sunday. Okay? You're going to have amazing things to say about what we've been doing, right? I neglected at the early service. This was an oversight, but I was deliberately trying to be really concise with announcements time, but I really should have taken a moment to say welcome back, okay? It was lovely to have you.
We missed you. We missed you. I have you down on the calendar when you were returning.
So, our deacon Gay has been out of the country for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Has good color. 2 months sun.
So, welcome back.
Worried I had to read all
we're gonna ask Gay to do some show and tell. Are you going to do some show and tell at some point?
I do. I have people gave me digital cameras, and I sent 3 of them. Actually, I sent 4 of them, but one of them the kids couldn't figure out how to use. So I sent 3 of them home with them to their homes in the rural reaches of Baja, and they brought photographs back to me. So I got that.
All right, so we'll get you on. What are you doing 2 weeks from today?
2 weeks from now is when the bishop comes.
No. That's 4 weeks from now.
Oh, okay. No, I can do that too.
Excellent. We're on schedule for the forum in 2 weeks. So.
And I will do that. I'll do that with my group.
Yay, show and tell 2 weeks from today. All right.
Get it down on that calendar. Don't lose it.
The conversation I really wanted to allow for was just a little bit of time for reactions to our "Don't Put Off Dying Until You're Dead," I guess is how it was phrased. I keep getting it wrong. "Don't Put Off Dying Until You're Dead" series that we did during Lent for those five Sundays. So, any reactions?
We're still alive.
I thought John's talk was very good about what he shared up there. Would he consider putting this in writing? Because I couldn't hear everything, and it would be helpful when I go to the lawyer, because it's been so long since I've been to him. It's time I renew things, and it might be helpful to share with him. Can we do that? Can this happen?
I'm not seeing how John's presentation, as good as it was, how that relates to what you would share with an attorney.
Well,
Are we talking about David?
what?
Are you thinking about Dave Carroll's?
Dave Carroll.
David Carroll.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, that would make sense for me to take to an attorney. Yeah, it would be helpful for Dave, in that case, to have some way of writing that up anyhow. So I mean, as helpful as it might be to go online and watch the video, there are some basics that I suspect. I don't think he would recap the whole presentation, but he could certainly recap some of the basics, I would think.
Put a PDF, link to a PDF or something on the
Yeah, at the very least, there are some of the slides we can take from that
Right.
presentation. We could easily recreate some of that
That's
for that.
very helpful.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. That's helpful to hear. Yes, ma'am.
Well, some of us were talking about having a funeral planning shindig.
Shindig. That was actually going to be next on my list.
Okay.
Was to say what next should we do, but that's a good reaction too. So okay.
To have clergy resources, everything available, and to have kind of a festive atmosphere around
Festive atmosphere.
planning our funerals.
That's right. Okay. So what are you thinking? A Saturday morning, a Tuesday evening? I mean,
More like a Saturday night or a Sunday night kind of a thing. I don't know. I'm just.
well, let's let others bounce it around.
But a lot of people don't like to come out.
How about a Sunday lunch then? Funeral lunch, a funeral luncheon.
Oh, dear.
Oh,
I'm more for like 4 o'clock. Because it stays light at night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a tea.
Tea. Funeral tea.
High English funeral planning.
High tea. I think the idea that some of us have had was to have like funeral food, like lime jello and ham, and scalloped potatoes and lemon bars are classic funeral.
Lemon bars, that's right. I was telling Bart that.
Lemon bars.
I haven't had
Every
jello yet.
funeral reception has to have lemon bars on the plate.
Yes, that's not a bad deal.
That's
No,
because
it's
it
not
gives
bad.
it a zip.
So that was just kind of a thought that
All
several
right.
of us
Well,
had.
I'm happy to entertain it. I would like to maybe have a couple of people decide when best to do that, and just encourage you to run with it.
I'm a little confused in regard to, I'm not sure if you were disparaging this food or
It's
or
just
applauding it.
comfort food.
in my 30 years being married to someone that officiates at funerals, that is classic funeral food. That's what.
I mean, see, I
So
hear
I don't
people disparage the lemon jello thing, and then
Well,
you
no,
say,
lime
yeah,
jello.
potatoes and
Oh yeah,
Comfort
yeah, it's
food.
great. That's why it's funeral food.
Right,
because
that's
it
why
feels
it's
very
funeral food,
nurturing.
because we look at it as comfort food.
The lime jello is a vestige from our 3
I'm all
years
in
in
favor of
Missouri.
food.
Jello.
That totally optional. Totally optional.
The comfort
Color of
food.
the Jello.
With a comfort food potluck. Okay. Well, let's just set it right now. Are we talking about a Sunday afternoon at 4? Are we talking about a
Do
weekday
people ever
afternoon?
come back?
What's your pleasure?
You say it,
No.
we'll be here.
No.
Probably not, but I'm
Just not at
talking
night.
about an evening.
Lime jello, cottage cheese. No, lime jello, marshmallow, cottage cheese, surprise.
That's it.
Oh,
That's
right.
it.
Well, I'm going to advertise this as a comfort food potluck. So,
Yeah, you're probably right, it wouldn't come back.
No,
So-
they wouldn't come back on a Sunday at 4.
No.
So a Sunday
So
lunch.
we need
How
to do
about a
it
Saturday
Sunday.
at 5?
I think we need to do it Sunday after church and have it be kind of a lunch.
But you won't get the 8 o'clockers to come back.
No, you won't.
Saturday
Well,
at
you know, you may
5.
not
Saturday
get
at
it.
5.
you're not going to get a huge crowd anyhow, in this speed.
That's true.
Well, it
By the
depends.
nature of
That
it.
bring
Yeah,
your own
entertainment.
coffee.
We need bagpipers
Bagpipers.
playing Amazing Grace.
What kind of entertainment would you?
No,
I don't know, you know.
It's called the cathedral, something Scottish cathedral. There's a wonderful, I found this wonderful bagpipe tune this weekend.
All right. Well, we can hash this out now, or we can go on to something else.
We can go on
But
to
if
something
we don't hash it out now, who's going to make sure this happens? Presumably in April, which means I have to know in time to get it in the newsletter.
Isn't April kind of busy now?
Yeah.
We could do June. June would be
I'm
fine.
thinking with all of the things that
All
are
right.
going on with the bishop.
Who's going to take point on this? Does the Trinity Women's Collective want to own this?
Huh.
We could talk about it in April.
We can handle it.
All right.
We can
I
handle
like
it.
it.
All right. Thank you. That gets us to these homework. Any other reactions to the series?
Say it. and
The
we'll
more
be
you
there.
can get Americans talking about death, the better.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd like to de-emphasize is life's general longevity. That just was really tough for me to handle. When statistics show that people live to be about 80, you know, and you look around here and then I'm going, man, I gotta get moving. I've only got a few more years to do all my bucket list.
So, well, you know,
That was depressing.
here's the thing:
But it's true.
the more birthdays you
care.
have, the more likely you are to live older.
Yes.
But there's also a statistical thing, of course. You know, they say, well, I don't even know what. Let's just imagine the average lifespan for an American these days is 75. Well, the reality is, if you live to be your age, whatever your age is, you're likely to live a lot longer than 75.
Oh, good.
Just,
I hope so, because that's coming up very, very
I know. You're here, you're in this going to help. The odds are you're not going to drop dead in the next 2-3 years. I mean, the odds are you're going to live longer than that. So
Yeah.
I'm encouraging you there, Joan. You got, but don't put it
I'm
off.
just gonna be busy.
But don't put it off forever.
Walking, keep moving.
Did
That's the
anyone
whole
pick up a
thing.
set of keys that we thought were lost?
I've not seen a set of keys.
Karen has lost her keys, and
Oh,
we thought maybe somebody may have.
One of the things that we know is that while we might live to be 95, we probably aren't going to be able to do a lot of our bucket list between 90 and 95. I mean, there might be a point at which we don't travel as much or get behind the wheel of our cars or things like that. So I think that there is something to be said for thinking about taking care of your bucket list and some of the things you really want to do within the next you know, depending on how you're feeling in the next 10 years or something, and saying, you know, I may only have 10 really good years to drive my car, to go to Europe, or to hit the Canary Islands or whatever.
I'll have to share
John.
something I think is very funny. When I was divorced at the age of 39 or 40, I'm not quite sure when, I said to myself, I have 10 good years. I need to live now. And every decade since then, I've been saying the same
I have 10 good years. Okay, good. John.
Well, this all brings up a question in my mind because it's becoming more prominent in the United States. 2 states now are prescribing you can terminate your own death, and California is going to vote on it. If terminal death is going to be legal in California. Now, you may want to end this up in one sentence, but what is your thoughts on individuals that are greatly in pain, terminal, other questions of this?
I think that would probably be a good conversation. I don't know that I'm in any position to weigh in on that very helpfully.
Well, yes, you would be.
Well, not off the top of my head. I think that deserves a bit more care. But I think you're right, John. I think it's a good question to have. So let's see if we can't figure out how to come back. Let's see if we can't figure out how to come back and have that conversation a bit more fully. I wouldn't want to shortchange it by offering just something on the fly.
Well, and I wasn't here for all of the sessions that we had, but the end of life kinds of decisions.
Mm-hmm. That was our first session, yeah.
Okay, because there's a book called Being Mortal, which is absolutely a really, really good book and thoughtful about the end times and the end of your life.
Individual end time.
Yeah. That phrase "end times" does seem to connote something else, doesn't it? Yeah. But you're right.
Yeah, I saw him.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So, any other reactions? We did funeral. We did end of life conversations. Was the first section. The second session was tell me about heaven. The third session was financial planning, estate planning, the like. The fourth session was funeral planning, and the fifth session was a holy death, which was John Collins' facilitated conversation. So those are the five Sundays we did during Lent. Okay, ready to move on to the next topic at hand? Next topic at hand is a very short one. Just to let you know, Lent Madness is winding down. We're down to the faithful 4. We're only going to get through the Sweet 16 with the NCAA by the end of today, but we're not. Oh my God! How are your brackets, by the way? Anybody do brackets?
Everybody's bracket was blown up.
My bracket blown up worse than others. I did it on ESPN, and I am in like the 7th percentile.
Of badness.
Which means 93% of the people who did it have better brackets than I have, including this one over here.
Who doesn't give a rat's about it?
But Lent Madness, that bracket's wide open still. In the next 2 days, we will have a matchup, one between Dietrich Bonhoeffer and Sojourner Truth, the other between Constance and Julian of Norwich.
Contemporary versus the ancient.
I'm going to go with it's going to be Julian against Sojourner Truth. That's my prediction, and I think Sojourner Truth at the end. That's my prediction. Owning it right now. The Golden Halo is awarded on Wednesday. And as silly as this thing gets, these guys are at least aware of the fact that by the time you get to Maundy, Thursday, and Holy Week, the rest of Holy Week, put this silliness aside and move on with the real meat reason we're getting together this week. So if you want to enjoy that for the next couple of days, just know it's still going on, but just barely. The last thing I just wanted to allow for, and this again, just kind of a little bit of an open-ended conversation about Holy Week, And Bart pointed this out to me and admonished me on Facebook yesterday publicly to share this today as part of our opening to Holy Week. So you can decide, how many of you know your Myers-Briggs personality type? Several of you.
I do, but forgot it.
Well, we'll try to remind you as we go through this real quick. So the first letter is easy. That's introvert versus extrovert. Most of us know what we are there by disposition.
You could just read the descriptions.
The descriptions aren't here, honey.
No. I mean, you can read the like.
Or you can decide what
Am I-
saint you resonate with. I
Yeah,
suppose that's
exactly.
one way to do it too. But I'm trying to make it easy on you.
Yeah.
So, N versus S. Intuitive versus sensate, right? So, which one are you? Are you more likely to just sort of intuit something, or do you need to experience it for it to be? Well, but which one do you got to pick one side or the other?
Experience.
I should know, but
All right. Well, you'll okay. The other one is a thinker or a feeler. All right. So F. All right. And then the last one, the P and the J is P's are just all over the place. J's are very organized. Sometimes they call us judgmental.
Oh, boy. I'm St. Zinzendorf.
St. Zinzendorf. So tell me, St. Zinzendorf does what? Which one is that? I don't.
He's in second column, second from the bottom.
On Palm Sunday, you try to see how many palms you can carry, wave, and wear. If you're not part of the processional, you will be. If you don't have an instrument, you make one. Also, there's a chance you attend only Palm Sunday and Easter because those other services burn you out.
No, that's not me.
All right, well, you got to figure out who you are.
Yep.
So, Barb's Catherine of Siena. She owned that yesterday.
Oh, St. Patrick.
You absolutely love contemplating unity with Christ and the beauty of the Eucharist during Maundy Thursday. It's so fulfilling. You especially love to contemplate this while hiding in the bathroom during the foot washing.
I either need to go up and get my feet washed or, anyway.
All right.
Yes.
Julie, which one are you?
I'm Joan of Arc, but I don't like the last line.
Well,
Now-
give me your personality profile so I can find it more easily.
ESTJ.
ESTJ, Joan of Arc. You're efficient, outgoing, analytical, dependable, realistic. Yeah, those are all you. And you like to get things done in an orderly fashion that produces results. Yes. If this is you, please contact us immediately.
No, I'm not in charge of
Congratulations, you're now in charge of Holy Week. Yes.
Thank
So
you, Julie.
this past Thursday, when I'm looking around saying we got Maundy Thursday and it's a potluck and it's pretty informal, but I really don't have anybody in charge. Who volunteers on Thursday this past week to say, I'll be in charge of making sure things get set up for Holy Week?
did.
For
have the
Maundy
people
Thursday.
signed up to bring food?
Well, yes, but somebody's got to make sure the tables are out and the settings are there.
She did that.
And Julie said, I'll do that. And I said, Julie, you do enough. She said, no, I want to do that.
But I said I want a dishwasher.
Well, we'll get the dishwash done somehow.
Good job.
Find the men.
Okay. Anybody else want to self-identify? Okay. Well, take this home and play with it. And if you don't know what your personality type is, read through all the saints. I got to say the print's a little bit hard. But read through all the saints, and then you can go back. You can reverse engineer, as it were, to your personality type.
There are also lots of online.
Oh, of course.
I don't have my
Of
glasses
course.
on. Does it say which each letter means?
No.
No.
It doesn't say
It's
here.
intuitive.
You can
sense-
go online and
sense-
find out what
Thinking,
various ones.
thinking and judgmental?
Yeah.
She doesn't.
And last but not least, I did want to get to talking about Holy Week. Peggy, if I give this to you now, will you hang on to it? Your part's highlighted there. Joan,
I've got it printed out.
Yes, sir.
your part's highlighted in there.
Thank you.
And I don't think anybody else here signed up for a part for the next service.
I have one line.
Oh, Jerry.
At
Oh, Julie
8 o'clock,
there.
And I need
everybody
Jerry's
read, we could
because-
hear them nicely at 8 o'clock. We could hear them nicely.
Good.
Thank you.
What about Jerry?
He's ill, but Dwayne's going to do it. I've arranged it, and I will
All
get
right.
it to him.
All right. I'll trust you. Go on past 10 with this form time. I can't do it today because I really have to make sure I get myself over next door so that we're all organized for the service to start on time for the next service. So, Okay, so Holy Week, and again, I gave you out these booklets this morning again, so that in case you somehow lost track of it, you can read along with our services for Holy Week. Hi, Betsy. We'll chat. Okay. The coordination between us is extreme. Hopefully, it's also good. So.
It never has been, so you'll be the first one that's a yes.
All right, Palm Sunday. We start with Palm Sunday. Anything you're curious about? See, this is really open-ended. Anything you want to ask about Palm Sunday?
Why do we kill Jesus and then we come back on Thursday and he's alive again?
Because he's
Have
resurrected.
you asked him that before?
Just a few times.
This is a perennial rant. So there are two answers. The first answer is both obvious and I fear likely wrong.
Because a lot of people don't come back.
That's the first answer. The first answer is we have to do it all on Palm Sunday, because if all we did on Palm Sunday was celebrate Jesus' triumphant entry into Jerusalem, waving of palms, proclaiming him King of Kings, and then we came back on Easter Sunday and he's risen, we've missed everything that happens in between, and everything that happens in between is, as I say more than once, crucial. Literally crucial, from the Latin word crux, which means cross or hanging tree. So if you don't do any of the things that happen in between his triumphant entry and his triumphant resurrection, and you miss everything else, then you've missed it all. So we, some say, do Palm Sunday this way. We celebrate the triumphant entry and then we go right into the Passion so that people won't miss it, because they won't come back for the services of Holy Week. That's what we say. And that's the obvious answer, and it's a persuasive answer to some extent, although for those of us who will be here, it's like, really? You can't be bothered to come back during the most important week of the year? The thing of it is, Egeria's record, that ancient record which tells us of the first celebrations of Holy Week, say that they actually celebrated the service not so differently than we do it here. Now that said, they took all day to do it. They did at least allow Jesus' triumphant entry to be celebrated fulsomely before they went on and ascended the Mount of Olives later in the day and recalled the rest of the horrors of the week. But we have a hard enough time to keep you here over an hour. Keep you here for the day of doing it. So there are some who have advocated that we ought to mix things up and just focus for one morning on the entry, on the procession, on the palms and the branches, and Jesus is coming in on a donkey. And as Marcus Borg, among others, has pointed out, that's a very political act that he engaged in. And I think Marcus has said, essentially, you have this image of Jesus coming in on a donkey, which in Jewish tradition is a royal entry, but a donkey isn't the same as the way Caesar enters in, mounted on a horse, on a steed, on a stallion, or some such. The images are very different, aren't they? And I think Marcus has pointed out that the whole procession in for Caesar would have been through one gate, and we have Jesus coming into Jerusalem from the opposite side. And for us to unpack all that on a Sunday morning might be worth our attention. But we have to inevitably, as you are lamenting, we have to move so quickly from that it's a passing thought. And this morning you'll see it. We'll go over to St. Helens, we'll bless the palms, we'll sing some hymns, we'll get all excited. The kids will be helping to distribute palm branches. You get to wave them around, and as soon as you come into the church, the prayer is about Jesus' passion and his betrayal and his death, and that's the rest of the service. For the proper preface for the day includes the phrasing, for our sins. A phrase I would like to unpack. I think prepositions are fluid. And I think certainly the way that gets heard by just about everybody, and it's probably, frankly, the way it's intended, is that's about that sacrificial atonement, theology. Jesus has to die because we're so bad, and Jesus has to pay the price and all the rest. I think that that's probably all there. It certainly is the way we hear it. But it does occur to me that prepositions being so fluid, I think that the way that resonates in a helpful way for me is Jesus died because of the way this world is set up. And I have an observation which I will share later, and those of you who were at the early service heard me read it, a word from our bishops. And I think that what resonates with our modern world is how often and how easily those in power secure power by beating down those without power. And it's for our sins. Because of the way the world is set up, the rich and the powerful too easily and too readily and too frequently abuse that and fail to see that the reason that any of us were given anything was for the common good. And it's because of that world, the way it's set up, that Jesus died. Not that he had to die in order to pay for our sins, but because
Of how we are.
Because of how we are and how the world is, yeah.
Yesterday, we watched a movie of a contemporary reenactment of the Passion. And there was one thing that came to me in the scene of the cleansing of the temple, overturning the tables in the temple. And I realized that the way that was depicted in modern day contemporary scene, that the whole earth is God's temple. And that's what Jesus was saying, was that we've polluted it, we've desecrated it by what we do as human beings. That just came through so forcefully for me, that it's not about necessarily the building. It's about the whole earth and what mankind has done.
It's lovely, yeah. It's lovely. It's terrible. It's horrific, but yeah, I agree. Just before I forget, to remind you, I have a couple of sign-up sheets still. Monday, Thursday. A lot of folks have signed up. I don't think as many as had signed up last year at this point, so I'm a little worried. But you'll show up. You'll show up. Bring something to share. It's a potluck. If this sheet gets filled in the next hour or two, you can go to the bottom page. So there's that. And Saturday, and for Good Friday, I should say, there's going to be a lot of work that goes on to get the labyrinth set up. I set things up. I did all the heavy lifting this week to get St. Helens set up for our service here. I hope you appreciate that when you go over there. By that I mean there are 10 chairs on the floor, and I moved a table.
That's a start.
That's all I did. That's all I wanted for today's service. I didn't want to have us sit down in pews, and we're going to gather around. There are some chairs for those who need it, but at this next service, there's not a lot of setup by design. But on Friday, the labyrinth in the middle of the room, the stations around. Somehow between Friday at noon and Friday at 2, we have to move some things over here. Ideally, we'd get the stations moved. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the stations are going to probably be over. So Monday, Thursday, we have our agape meal here. We've talked about that a lot. There's a lot written there. At 6:30, we move into the sanctuary for the liturgy of the day. The difference that we're adding this year, and really I think it's the only real difference, the difference we're adding this year is at the end of the service, you'll be invited, if you're so inclined, you'll be invited to sit for an hour quietly in the chapel. I'm not expecting that most folks are going to want to do that, and that's fine, because frankly, if most folks wanted to do it, it won't fit. But there will be chairs there for anybody who wants to. In response to Jesus' admonition to the disciples in the garden, could you not stay awake with me 1 hour? There will be the invitation to stay awake with Jesus for an hour in the chapel.
What day is this?
That's Thursday night. So after we've done everything we've done during the evening, after we've stripped the altar, after we've washed the feet earlier, had communion, and then stripped the altar, most folks can go home, and that's absolutely fine. Those who want to stay can just sit quietly in the chapel for an hour. Okay?